Okay, this is English 373, week 3, part 5. Good. Okay, and now we get to what is possibly my favorite line in all of Shakespeare. I love it so deeply. Um, it's one of those. I like it because it's an example of what Shakespeare does great, and it's in like a single sentence. So I can put a single sentence. If I had to pick one sentence to talk about what makes Shakespeare brilliant, I might seriously consider this one. It's not a sentence that many people care about, but it's a sentence that I care about a lot because I'm a crazy person. It's on page 9, right before the beginning. It's a little bit before the beginning of Act 3, so it's the last scene in Act 2. It's on page 9 of our copy. Here, so he's talking about that Macbeth has killed Duncan, and the guards, have woke up from their dreamy sleep because they were drugged by Lady Macbeth, and Macbeth slaughters them both because he sees Duncan, and he slaughters them both to shut them up so they won't say they didn't do it. It's easier to blame dead people for the murder because you won't have to listen to them deny it. But he does it. Everybody's sort of suspicious. They're like, because he kills them, and they're like, "Why did you kill those guys?" And he's like, "Look, there is my king. He's dead. There are the guards. They got blood all over them because Lady Macbeth put blood all over them." And I got angry and killed them. What do you want from me? And he's describing why he flew into a rage, and he describes Duncan's dead body, and he describes Duncan's dead body, um, in this incredible sentence. He describes Duncan's dead body and how the sight of it caused him to fly into a rage and murder these two guards, and murder the guards, because he's going on. He's pretending he doesn't know who killed Duncan, and he's like, "Oh, I guess it was the guards. Look at them. They got their hands covered in blood. Duncan's dead. They're supposed to be guarding him. They did it." And everybody's kind of suspicious about that, and they start asking him questions, and he doesn't have answers to those questions. And Lady Macbeth maybe faints. She usually faints in a performance, but something happens to her and distracts everybody. Anyway, oh shit. Hold on, I put a tea kettle on. Give me 10 seconds, I'll be back. Actually, I guess I can still talk to you, and you can hear me while I pour the tea in the other room because the headphones are still connected. So anyway, I feel like a crazy person now, but I'm doing it. So it's this. He's describing Duncan's dead body, and it's one of those things. This is what I was saying earlier about how, in a movie, this is often cut out because you see, in a movie, you can just show Duncan's dead body, and that's impressive. Because people like to see gore in movies. I'm one of those people. I like a good gory movie. Um, People like to see gore in movies. But on stage, you can't see gore up close. And so instead of seeing, just like in a movie, you'd have a special effects department that would make a really cool fucked up corpse and put it on display. In a Shakespeare play, they use poetry to describe fucked up corpses. And this is the scene of using poetry to describe fucked up corpses. And I realize, again, I know students are driven crazy. And then they usually cut it out of the movie because it's silly to have both a fucked up corpse and poetry about the fucked up corpse. If you can't have a close up because you're in a play, you just say, you communicate it with words. And here's the thing. Plays communicate primarily through dialogue. Movies communicate primarily through images. Now, obviously, plays have some images, like Hamlet Macbeth stabbing people. Actually, Duncan's murder is not shown, but some of them, like the murder of Banquo, is on stage. So it's like there's some images, but it's mostly dialogue. Movies the other way around. Movies are mostly images with some dialogue. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Movies and plays seem similar, but they have some pretty key differences, including close-ups is a big one, and there's some other more complicated ones. In a movie, you see the actors, but they can't see you. In a play, you see the actors, but they can see you, and that's I think that's a really crucial difference that people miss. Anyway, here's the line, top of page 9. He's describing Duncan's body, and he says, "Here lay Duncan." He's explaining, and they say right here, wherefore did you so? Like, why did you just kill? I did kill them. Wherefore did you so? Like, wherefore means why. We'll talk about that later when we get to Romeo and Juliet. He said, "I did kill them. Why did you kill them?" And Macbeth says, "Who can be wise, amazed, temperate, furious, loyal, and neutral in a moment? No man." So he's like, "Look, I got emotions. I got stirred up. The expedition of my violent love outrun the pause of reason." Meaning, I wanted I loved Duncan so violently I had to kill his murderers. And then he describes Duncan. "Here lay Duncan, his silver skin laced with his golden blood, and his gashed stabs looked like a breach in nature for ruin's wasteful entrance. They are the murderers, steeped in the colors of their trade, their daggers unmannerly breached with gore. Who could refrain that had a heart to love, and in that heart courage to make his love known? Okay, so that is the line. Um, here lay Duncan. Here lay Duncan, his silver skin laced with his golden blood, and his gashed stabs look like a breach in nature for ruin's wasteful entrance. Actually, I'm gonna pause here and talk about something kind of important. A lot of teachers will tell students that they're stupid for not being able to understand. Like students don't get. Remember, I said plays are about words and movies are about images. A lot of your teachers, because they became teachers, come from a word culture. They like words. I'm a big fan of words. I'm like a word guy. That's one of my hobbies is finding out word histories. That's how much of a fucking nerd I am. Um, One time I read a book that was 3,200 pages long, and it's just a guy remembering his life. I also audiobooked a book that was 462 hours. Why? It wasn't even that good. It was okay. But like, holy God, I listened to a book that was 400, an audiobook that was 462 hours. That's crazy. I mean, it was a series of books, but whatever. The author died in the middle of it, and somebody had to finish it. That's too hot. Okay. So teachers sometimes make students feel bad about words. Um, because they come from a word culture. But most younger people younger than me, but even people my age too. It's just that I'm not like an average person. I'm a professor. That's like a specific profession I've gone into. Teachers are a specific group of older people. Um, but it's a word culture. But we don't really live in a word culture. We live in an image culture. That's why. It's why you see older people on Facebook because they can type out messages, but younger people like Instagram because it's just pictures. They like to express themselves in pictures. Now, are words or pictures more valuable? I don't know. Whatever. Who cares? I'm not interested in this debate. Um, it is though, but teachers often act like people back then in the olden days used to read all the time, and kids today don't read anymore, and they make it seem like people today are stupider than they used to be. It is true. It is true that the audience for Shakespeare's plays in the Renaissance could watch a play and hear all these words go by and understand them really well, and that we can't really do that. We have a much harder time taking in, understanding so many words. But that doesn't make us dumber than them. Because while if we went back in time and attended a Shakespeare play, we would have a really hard time understanding all the words. If you took one of them and took them to Times Square and had them navigate all the fucking advertising and the images there that we navigate every day without thinking about it, they would lose their fucking minds. Because they couldn't handle all the images we see all day. You see more images on scrolling through Instagram than a medieval peasant would have seen in his whole fucking life. Now, the medieval peasant might have listened to more words than you would read in a book in your whole life. But that's because you've grown up in an image culture. You grew up watching movies, you grew up watching TV, you're looking at Instagram, a lot of images. They grew up in a word culture. They go to church every fucking day. They read the Bible all the time. And even if they can't read, they go to sermons every day and they listen to people talk about complex shit in the Bible every day of their lives. They're essentially, you don't realize it, but when you're flipping through Instagram, you're training your eyeballs to be good at images. When they go to sermons and listen, they train their ears to listen to words. The result is that a line in a Shakespeare play, like, here lay Duncan, his silver skin laced with his golden blood, and his gashed stabs look like a breach in nature for ruin's wasteful entrance. I think they would be able to understand that faster than you. But you are able to understand a movie much faster. They would be like, what is happening? They showed you one person, and they showed you a different person. What is the connection between the two people? They'd be baffled by movies. I mean, movies, you don't think about it. But like in a movie, they'll show you a guy, and he'll look down like this. And then they'll show you a doll on the ground. Somehow that means the guy is looking at the doll. They would not be able to figure that out. It seems obvious to you because you grew up in a culture where they have if the camera's like here and it looks let's say so here's me and I'm going to look like this, and then the next shot in the movie is a shot of that cup, and you would understand, oh, he's looking at the cup. I think they would have a hard time with that. That's because your eyes have been trained to deal with images and their eyes have been trained to deal with words. Okay, cool. So what else do I want to say? Yeah, that's all I want to say, I think, for now. I may say a little more in the next video about this. Okay, but I'm going to stop that here. Thank you. I'll see you next video.